Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Chile Investors and Connectors. We are here today with some awesome guests from Chile are going to speak with us about the startup ecosystem in Chile and how has it evolved in the last years. Chile is one of the most mature markets in Latin America regarding startups, have an amazing program as Startup Chile. The government is also helping through other organizations as Corfo. And some other private institutions are also helping the startup ecosystem in Chile, not just the local startup ecosystem, but also international startups. So welcome today to this webinar. If you have any questions or comments, please send us an email to contact@latamstartups.biz or to the hashtag LatamStartups. And then when we finish the webinar, we can also, answer your questions, any that you have. Now, today, I'm going to present our guest today. We're going to start with Angeles Navarro. She is from Startup Chile. She's basically right now going to talk with us about the program and some other questions we have around. We have also David Albo from NXTP Labs. NXTP is one of the biggest accelerators that we have in Latin America, and currently he's running the office in Chile. We have Marcus Schreier from Chilean Angels from another consulting company that he has also in Chile, helping startups to scale and to do research and development. And we are going to have probably soon Tadashi Takaoka. He's having some troubles to enter to this link right now. Hopefully we are going to talk with him as well in a few minutes. But we wanted to start with you guys right now, this webinar. So here we have some questions about how is the startup ecosystem and how it's evolving and how you guys are supporting. So our first question is, how do you describe the startup ecosystem in Chile? What are the main features? And I'd like to start with Angeles.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for this invitation. Hello to everyone. Well, I will say that in Chile we have a solid ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem. There are different actors and institutions working together, and I would like to highlight the synergy that we have with each other. We are very well connected with working all together to improve the ecosystem that have been developing for the last couple of years. So of course we still need to improve things, but I would say that so far it has been well developed, and that we work together, different institutions, universities, VCs, accelerators, etc. To work together to improve the ecosystem that we have in Chile.
Sounds good. Thank you, Angeles. And now the same question to David. From your perspective, from NXTP Labs, what do you think about the ecosystem? How do you describe the ecosystem in Chile?
Well, first of all, Miriam, thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here. So, for your question, I believe we have a really growing ecosystem here in Chile. It's growing really fast. We have a lot of great startups doing a great job. We have a little lack of VCs. So we're all the institutions, as Angeles said, we're working together to grow this ecosystem, and we know we don't have too many VCs here in Chile. And also, this ecosystem is strongly supported by Corfo. So that's one thing you should know about Chile. Corfo is supporting every stage of the startups through incubators, VCs, angel investors, and universities. So we have a strong ecosystem supported by Corfo.
Sounds good, David. Thank you so much. Now, Marcus, you're coming from an international perspective to Chile. So you have been in other markets. You have been also in Brazil and in Europe. And we'd like to know from your perspective, how do you describe the startup ecosystem in Chile?
Yeah, first of all, also thank you, Miriam, for the opportunity to participate. I can, on the one hand, echo what Angeles and what David already outlined. I think a very solid and continuously growing ecosystem, specifically when we think about the seed stage. What I see also as positive, it's a lot of support currently from a government perspective. Probably later on we might speak about some of the challenges. It also comes with some challenges, specifically when you think about the internationalization of startups. What probably is an area where I see challenges for the startups is that once the seed stage is leaving or is finished, once the startups are coming out of a seed stage, the infrastructure to support the next step. We mentioned the venture capitalists. We have to mention also accelerators which look more for early stage support and for internationalization with an international network. Those are areas which are in its absolute infancy at the moment. On the other hand, I have to say that Corfo has started to look at that. I had a meeting yesterday with Corfo talking about that specific subject. There is one initiative at the moment ongoing to launch several, let's say, early stage funds. I don't want to say venture capital funds because they might be too small to be called real venture capital funds, but supporting funds in the early stage. That is an initiative which is started, and there are other thoughts to support that specific gap. And the international network, I think, is very important because Chile is a small country with limited, let's say, markets. So looking into Latin America, and I think here NXT Labs is one good example, but also looking into other markets, not only the United States. One of my startups, for example, a very good market would be in New Zealand, but definitely building that international network is a very critical aspect for the future success of the ecosystem.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Marcus. I'd like to introduce Tadashi Takaoka. He just joined us today. He's from Corfo. Hey, Tadashi.
Hi, Miriam. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. But there is a lot of noise behind. So, do you
really?
have probably microphones?
No, no. I'm alone in a room with no noise, so I don't know what noise is going on. The rest.
Oh, okay. Now it's here. I can hear clear. Thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Hey, Tadashi, thank you so much for coming to the webinar. And I'd like to, ask you the first question, Tadashi. By the way, I said some words at the beginning, but Tadashi is Director of Entrepreneurship at Corfo. It's one of the government institutions that are helping startups in Chile. So our first question is a very basic question. It's about how do you describe the startup ecosystem in Chile? What are the main features?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, Miriam. Well, the startup concept in Chile has evolved very fast. I will say that it was first installed in 2010 with the construction of Startup Chile. Angeles talk a little bit about that. And in this first wave was about the culture. To have people that wanted to solve new problems. You have people that wanted to create solutions that were more technological, that had to do with innovation. And the most important part was to create the opportunity for people who were being employed to become self-employed, to create solutions that will be global or will have worldwide impact. So the first part of the startup concept was to to create the Chilean concept of a startup. What kind of conditions will have, what kind of characteristic will have the entrepreneurship in Chile? Because Latin America has different rules than in North America in terms of growth, in terms of size. So the first part was to make that definition. I will say that right now we're living a second wave of startups. The first wave was where young people coming out of universities becoming entrepreneurs for the wrong reasons, like they wanted to become millionaires, or they wanted to they didn't want to have a boss. So a lot of them failed because they didn't have the training. Right now we're in a second wave where we're working with sophistication. Part of the new problems that we have, like this concept that Marcus was talking just recently about, how this gap in the early stage investment part is because some of them evolved. So startups right now are becoming very technological. They're working with a little bit of R&D, and they're focusing on strategic markets, which is very important because, of course, we all need these B2C models with social networks, which is cool. But as a country, we have different markets that are very solid, and if we can solve those problems, will put us in the worldwide stage. So a lot of startups are appearing to solve problems in mining, in sustainability, in terms of forestry, logistics, different concepts that are making more sophisticated startups, taking advantage of the hard training that engineers and other professionals have here in Chile to create new companies. So I will say right now startups are having this little turn to the B2B model, to solve these strategic problems and to make better connections with the industry, which is making a space for open innovation.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Tadashi. I have a second question, and actually this question is more for the government. So we all know that Chile has been leading the region for years in the tech sector, especially for startups. In Latin America, Startup Chile is very well known. Corfu is very well known in the world. Many startups know about the program that you guys have in Chile. Now, what are those next steps that you need to have in Chile to improve the current startup ecosystem? I will start with Tadashi and then Angeles.
Well, like I was saying, I will say that the first part is sophistication, trying to compete with what we have as capacities. For example, we have developed new instruments that connect big companies with big problems, with the startups that are in idea phase and are trying to create new solutions through innovation. And that's very important because in innovation, the most important part is the problem, is the challenge. The bigger, the better. So the first part is to create this sophistication in terms of new solutions. The second part is something that it was already taken, the concept of creating this early stage investment. In Chile, the numbers are different. In Silicon Valley, when you talk about seed capital, you talk about until 500K. In Chile, I will say that it's like 200K, and early stage is 200K to $1 million. So that's the part that we're trying to create new investment funds to attract new people, to attract new solutions. For example, crowdfunding has become very strong in Chile. I think we have this startup by itself. It's a startup called Brota, who gives equity of companies again investment from a lot of people. So it's like a So is a lot of people investing in companies, and I think it's the most dynamic crowdfunding against equity that we have in Latin America. So there are new solutions for this part, and that's something that we want to encourage. And the third concept I will say is about we're working in a project called the Startup Journey, which is a methodology to train and certificate the startups through the connection with the ecosystem. So what is going to happen right now is that startups are going to from August. They're going to go to a platform where they can self-evaluate the level that they have in innovation or in the road of entrepreneurship, the curve of money that everyone knows, and they're going to receive valuation of the company, the level where they are, and what kind of training they should have. For example, a company who is in level 3 will probably need to have a conversation with investors, will need to have a mentors, a director board, training for management, etc. So, and we're going to provide those services through providers in all the regions in Chile. So the third part is about training. It's about having people that is prepared to take the next step, to understand where they are, and to raise the level and to raise the chance of success of the big company. So those will be the 3 points in our next challenges: sophistication, creating this investment round in the early stage part, and having this support through the startup journey.
Okay, thank you so much, Tadashi. Now, Angeles, from your perspective in Startup Chile, you guys have done an awesome job helping startups, international startups, local startups now. Also, helping women in the startup sector. What are the next steps for Startup Chile in the future to improve the startup ecosystem in Chile?
Yeah, so there are different kind of things that we have been doing and that we are focused now. Well, David, Tadashi, and also Marcus were mentioning about the lags that we need to improve, or the things that are not working so well right now in the ecosystem. So when Startup Chile was born, it generates like a huge deal flow of startups. So we have supported a lot of startups. As Tadashi said, we still need to train them and so they can succeed. But for our perspective, there are different things that we are working on to improve the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So first of all, we have attracted a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs to Chile. But now we need to retain those talented entrepreneurs to stay in Chile and to have an impact in the ecosystem. So we are giving them some incentives for them to scale from Chile, and in that turn we need to improve how they access the market and the investors. So we have been mentioning that we need to have more VCs, or even maybe started having VCs. So in that sense, Startup Chile has been creating the club of investors. So there are a lot of people that wants to for example, companies that wants to incorporate innovation in their businesses, but they don't know how to do it. So we are connecting startups with companies so they can work together easier. So we are approaching companies from, first of all, so that also they can, it's at the end, it's kind of an incentive for the startups to be in Chile and to scale from Chile if they have clients or potential investors, I don't know. So first of all, we are working very close with companies so they can incorporate innovation, and we can teach them on how to do that. From another perspective, we are working with investors or with people that have money and don't know how to invest. So we're focused on training them on how they can invest in startups. So we created this club of investors, as I mentioned, and with all those things, also we're working close with mentors so that we can give them training. And with all these areas or different points that we are working on, we are trying at the end to have a better ecosystem in Chile, so our entrepreneurs can be or have more tools to grow here and to scale from Chile. So yeah, I would say that's the three main things that we need to improve. like retain talent by training them, and at the end connect them with companies, investors, and mentors.
Thank you, Angeles. So that's really, super good plans for the future from the government supporting the startups in Chile. So now we go to the third question. And this is, what are the main players in the startup ecosystem in Chile, those that you recommend to international startups should connect? So let's start with David. What are the main players that you may recommend to any international startup that is going to Chile?
So obviously NXTP Labs, that's a main player that you should connect to. We're working here to basically create acceleration programs to connect startups with corporations and big enterprises, so they can have new clients and success. You know, the startups here in Chile or in Latin America, they only achieve success by selling. You know, by having revenues. It's really hard for a company here in Chile or Latin America to grow without selling, without having any revenue, because VCs and seed stage funds, they don't invest in a lot of companies that have like users and stuff like that. So NXTP obviously for their acceleration programs, Corfo obviously, that's one institution you have to know. You have to know everything about them, every grant that they have available. You have to know them. Obviously, if you come to Chile, you have to apply to Startup Chile. That's one must thing. You have to do that. Obviously, if you come in from outside, you have to come to Startup Chile first. And the other main player that I would say that we have here is incubators, because they have a lot of money from Corfo, and they're giving to those monies, to those grants to the startups that are maybe a later stage than just the idea. So I will say NXTP Labs, Corfo, Startup Chile, and incubators. That are the main players here in Chile. And as everyone has said, I should be telling you about the VCs. You know, I don't know if you're there, Miriam.
Yeah, I'm here. We just take out the video because internet connection, but I'm here.
Okay. So I should be telling you about the VCs, but they're not the main players here. We're really working hard to have better angel investors, more angel investors, more VCs, but it's really it's really difficult, and we're trying hard to so they can be main players here in Chile.
Sounds good. Yeah, VCs is also is kind of a problem for the whole region. This is also happening in Colombia and Mexico and other places. So this is something that we really need to improve. But as we are growing as an ecosystem in general, so that's coming after, I guess. But talking about VCs and investors, Marcus, so do you have any extra connections that you think any international startup should make when they are going to Chile?
Yeah, I think David mentioned most of the ones which are really well established and connected in Chile. However, we will speak later on about the importance of network and getting to know people in Chile and in Latin America. We all know networks are important in the world, but business here in Latin America goes via people you know. And so therefore, I would definitely recommend that you also get engaged, or minimum get to know and get to know some people who are in the more supporting networks, like angel networks, like Chile Global Angels, that NEO. These are good organizations which are not just looking at at investing or investment opportunities, but in those networks there are a lot of people who are spending time with startups on pro bono basis, on coaching basis, and who help also with introductions in other areas. Another organization which I can recommend, international startups, always dependent of course on the focus of the startup, but if there is a startup which is more related to the mining industry, was more related to the salmon industry, should definitely get connected with Fundación Chile, as well as with some of the centers of excellence like UC Davis Chile, which is focused more on the agriculture side, Fraunhofer, which is focused on biotech. So those are also, I think, specifically for international startups, also good examples that international companies or organizations are coming to Chile and driving success.
Perfect. And talking about that part of angel investment, we would like to know, for international startup perspective, what is the main difference that you see between angel investment in Chile compared with the region and also with the with North America? Let's start with Marcos, and then we go with Tadashi, and then David.
Okay. I would say there are many differences, but the main difference is that the angel investment here in Chile is still in its infancy. Everybody's learning. Availability of funds in the angel networks is probably not always the problem. The problem is more the level of risk taking and the level of understanding the technologies or the solutions which are offered. That means most of the angel investors here in Chile are not past entrepreneurs. These are not people who have gone through the cycles of entrepreneurship and had big successes or big exits, and based on that they then go into angel investment. But these are people who have a certain level of interest in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, have interest in finding alternatives for investments, but are usually very, very conservative from an investment perspective, very conservative when it comes to valuation, and also it's probably not yet a mature angel, or it is not a mature angel investment network where each angel also has the capacity to help, specifically helping in domain knowledge. Many angel investors have experience in the management of companies, of structuring companies, etc. But really domain knowledge in specific areas is limited. So these are some of the main differences in its infancy, but a growing interest and a growing participation, but still a lot of work to be done. And they all have recognized that. They're all working on different programs to improve.
Okay, sounds good. Tadashi, we know that Corfo has also trying to improve a lot the VC sector, investment sector. How do you think? What do you think about the angel investment sector in Chile?
Well, I think that it is, like I said before, we have all the methodology, all the ideas, all the concepts that came to Chile were coming from Silicon Valley. The books were coming from Silicon Valley. The methodology, the structure, the algorithm were coming from Silicon Valley, and of course the basis of that were culturally were from Silicon Valley, and that's very different from what we have here. One of the first things that you will notice in Latin America is that investors, VC players, don't have someone to sell the company to. So in Latin America, we're not having acquisitions yet, and that says a lot about what are the conditions of the investment. Because, like David said before, you won't find a place to become invested only because you have a lot of traction. Because when someone in the US or in North America invests in traction, they know that some big company is going to come and is going to buy the company, and that's where the investor is going to have the money back. But in Latin America, that won't happen. So the only thing that you can seek for is a business model. You need to prove that you can sell as soon as you start, and sets a very different strategy for what you will see in other places. A second, a second characteristic is that we don't have that many players in the VC stage, so and some of them are very focused on mining or in real estate. So apps will have a hard time trying to connect with them, not because they don't have great products, but because you don't have that many options. So you might have like 6-7 players that can invest in you, and if you don't seduce them, it's very hard to continue, and you might need to move to other places. But on the other hand, if you have some training, if you come from more developed ecosystems, like Canada, for example, you might have the opposite. You might have a fast way to become invested in Latin America because you have a different numbers, because you have a global market. That's something that certain startups won't show when they present in front of an investor. So you might have certain leverage to become invested faster. On the other side, of course, we're trying to create this new ecosystem, and like Marcos was saying, there is still a teenager, or there's still a newborn culture of investors. We're learning, but on the other hand, we're also having we're creating this deal flow of companies that can be invested, and we're attracting a lot of people to Chile. I have received, like, I don't know, 10 mails from investors from all over the world who want to come to Chile. They need to understand how to enter the country, and Corfo is investing in them. We invest in the VCs in terms of to operate the company, and also to multiply the amount of the fund from 1 to 3 times. So someone that comes with $10 million to invest in Chile will end up maybe with $40 million, which is very attractive. So we're creating more possibilities for the people. Even though the vision right now is kind of grim, I will say that it's becoming very bright very fast.
Sounds good, Tash. Yeah, in general terms, for international startups that are watching this webinar, you gotta understand also that the government plays a really high level role in the investment side. So that's why we need to encourage more people actually to go and to approach the government as well, not just the private investors. That for sure, they should be there as well. But the government is also pushing to actually invest in startups, local and international startups. Now, I would like to know from David and Angeles, we start with David, if you want to add something to this question, to this answer.
I just agree with Marcus and Tadashi that we have a lack of acquisitions. So if you don't have acquisitions, you don't have rich entrepreneurs that understand the ecosystem and how to invest and what to expect. So that's one thing we still don't have good angel investors. We have a few. I see a lot of cap tables from my companies and other companies. There is like, I would say, like 50 angel investors, but probably everybody it's like investing in people that they trust. So maybe there's a cousin, or maybe there's an uncle. So there's no like professional angel investors, and I believe we have to expect more acquisitions. We had a new acquisition like one month ago, Chile Autos, and we expect those entrepreneurs become angel investors and show other people with money that they can be angel investors and make a lot of money doing that. So we still have that thing that is not working yet.
Angeles, would you like to add something to this question, to this answer, and specific about investors?
Well, just that I agree with with David as well, and I think it's something that's gonna change sooner or later. At the end, there are good opportunities for the ones that are investing in startups. So I think we just need more time to show the market that there are good opportunities and that it's a good business to start like working as an angel investor or a VC. So maybe we need more examples that, as the one that David mentioned, and Brota is always also doing his part, another part with crowdfunding. So more people, it's knowing about how to invest in startups, and at the end, I think it's something that will change sooner or later. At the end, yeah.
That's good. And we are going to start the other question with you, Angeles. So, what is the best way for international startups to connect with local clients or users to validate their business idea in the market? What will be that best way for them to start to connect with those clients and users?
Yeah. So the best way, I think, for people that it's not from Chile, for example, startups from Canada, they're the ones to connect with locals. Well, we have been mentioned this before, but first of all, it's important to know that Corfo has a super important role in the startup ecosystem. So it's always good to approach Corfo first. For the ones that don't know, Startup Chile, it's a program that belongs to Corfo. I'm Corfo as well, and also in terms of, I think it's a good country to start like adding clients and introducing the business, especially in Latin America in general, because of like some asset that Chile has in terms of how easy it is to incorporate technology, for example, compared with other Latin American countries. In general, we have good Chileans in general have good access to smartphones and internet. So if you want to test your product, your service, it's a good a good country to start in the region. Also in terms of geography, like and regulation, since we are kind of isolated, I think that give the potential startups to test in a safe environment, and also in terms of taxes, for example, if you compare with the US or Europe. So I think it's a super good place to start if you want to expand to the Latin American region. Also, for example, for the stability of the country in terms of economical and political stability, the cost of living if you compare with Europe or the US, Canada, etc., North America in general. So I think it's a good place to start compared with other Latin American countries.
Sounds good, Angelos. David, what do you think about that? How a startup can validate their business trying to connect with customers or clients? How they should start? I know that Angelos already said that with the government, we start with Corfo, we start with Startup Chile. There is any other ways that they can find also that special connection with customers or clients, users?
Yes, I believe there's two ways. Besides what Angeles said, first you can do it the Marcus way. You have to be a really nice and cool person, and to don't be embarrassed to say hello to everybody. So for you to grow a good network here and to validate your business, you have to know people, like Marcus did. And the other way is to partner with a local founder that knows the language and knows the idiosyncrasy, I don't know how to say it, how people or how business work in Chile. So, or you just partner with someone from Chile, or you do it the Marcus way and say hello to everybody, and you have to be a really nice and cool person.
Sounds good. I don't know if Tadashi or Marcus would like to add something to that answer.
From my perspective, first of all, thanks, David, for the positive words. It's not the easiest way, I have to say, but it is for sure a good way, because you learn through your mistakes, and you need to be open for that learning. But it's clearly also a longer way. But what I really think is important to know, and what international startups should really take to heart, that when they come into the country, into Chile, they need to learn that the culture is different. It's the same when we go to the US or somewhere else, coming in and thinking we can do it the way we have done it in Brazil, or we have done it in Germany, or in the United States, or anywhere else in the world. It's not working. So I think a very critical element is this humbleness right from the beginning, and no matter through which organization and contact you go, you need to have that humbleness of understanding that not only the language is different, but also the culture is different, and you need to adapt yourself and listen and learn. And that is, for me, the key essence coming to Chile, coming to any other country and region. Yeah?
Sounds good. Tadashi, would you like to add something, or you're okay with those
Yeah,
answers?
yeah. No, just two small points. First of all, the Startup Chile has been named a lot, but it has a clear advantage for someone that is a foreign entrepreneur. That is the only way that you will enter the country with a visa that the government will give you to work here for a year. So that sets a lot of advantage for someone that comes from a foreign country. And the second way is to enter through incubators. We have 11 incubators and accelerators in Chile that can give you not only the help to enter, but also money. They can give you until 200K US dollars to enter the country. I did that when I was the head of an accelerator here in Chile named Magical Startups, where we looked for teams and we made demo days in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and in Medellin in Bogota, and we brought teams to Chile. We invest in them and we help them to install themselves. So some incubators have this way to connect you to work as this ambassador in the local country, like Marcus and David were saying. Yes, you need someone to help you to understand the local culture, and that's a very fast and good way to do it. So Startup Chile is the best way, I will say, but also incubators and accelerators like XTP Labs, for example, will help you to do that.
Thank you so much, Tadashi. Now we are going to go with an interesting question, is about how you are going to, what is that specific word or term that will define the startup ecosystem in Chile? We were talking before with Colombia and Peru when it was the month highlighting their ecosystems, and in Colombia was about the talent. They were saying, you know, we are not the country to start up here for international startups, but you can find the talent here. And for Peru was everything is there to be done. So they are just really starting up, and find that their ecosystem is just ready to start many things. What is that specific word in one sentence that you will say this is what the Chilean startup is giving to the startup ecosystem in Latin America that is defining us? I'm going to start with Tadashi.
I will say our phrase is do it the Marcus way. No, just kidding. No, just kidding. Our phrase is you will have a lot of support, not only from the government, but also from the people. The ecosystem is becoming developed very fast, and we have learned different ways in Chile from what can work in Latin America. So I will say you will be supported if you come to Chile.
Sounds good. Angeles, what do you think? What is that specific word or sentence that will define the ecosystem?
Yeah, so the main like asset that or the most valuable thing that our startup ecosystem have here, I will say it's first of all the number of startups that we have. So it's a huge community, and at the end there, well, Marcus also mentioned the importance of the connections, and so I think it's a huge community of people that you can approach, and from Chile, but also from abroad. So I think one of the most valuable assets of the startup ecosystem is how well connected. If, for example, if you are part of a startup Chile or part of an incubator in Chile, or if you receive funds from Corfo, at the end you will belong to a community of people, many startups that are working maybe in different industries, but facing as entrepreneurs the same challenges. So I will say that's one of the most important aspects of the startup ecosystem. And in terms of a little bit more as Chile as a country, I think it's a very good place. I already mentioned it, but it's a very good place to test and validate. So that's also one of our assets. Because of course, because of all the things that I mentioned before.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much, Angeles. Now, David, what is that word? The word, the sentence that you think defines the ecosystem, the Chilean ecosystem in Latin America?
Okay, so as the ecosystem in Chile were conceived by Corfo and growth by Startup Chile, we really welcome the foreigners to the ecosystem, and that's I believe we have, like Tadashi said, we have a lot of support from the ideas to the scale stage of the startup, and our economy is really healthy. So it's a really good place for B2B companies also.
Thank you, David. Now, coming in from Marcus' way, Marcus, what is that? What is that specific word or sentence that you think defines the ecosystem in Chile?
To do it the Marcus way, you probably need to come from from another career instead of just being a startup. No, I would definitely echo what Tadashi is saying. The support infrastructure which you find and the openness of the people in Chile to receive foreigners and help is extraordinary. I have been in many countries, but I have to say my way would have not been as easy, even though it was not the easy way, but it would have not been as easy if the infrastructure and the availability of resources, talented resources, and the willingness of the people would have not been there.
Sounds good, Marcus. Thank you so much. So we are going to jump to the last question just before we have already questions from the public, and we have just 9 minutes or so. So our last question here for the webinar is, what is the best advice you can give to an international startup thinking and expand business in Chile? So let's start with Marcus.
Going back. From my perspective, it's probably a little bit repetitive, but it is tapping into the resources which were explained. That is, out of my perspective, the best way to get accelerated in the country as fast as possible. That means get connected with Corfo, get connected with the infrastructure like Startup Chile, NXTP Labs, and other organizations, as we mentioned them throughout the webinar. From my perspective, that is the best way, the fast way, because these organizations not only can tell you how they can help, but they also introduce you and guide you to the industries, which means opening doors, which help the startups which are coming from abroad to test their solutions.
Okay, sounds good. I imagine the others are going to have similar answers, but if you have something to add, David, what will that say about an advice for an international startup?
Really straightforward. You have to apply to Startup Chile. You have to you can't lose any event to do network, and obviously you have to see me.
Sounds good. So, Angeles, I think you agree with that answer.
Yes, of course.
Any other advice that you can think?
No,
Any other advice you can think?
my advice,
Yeah.
of course, is to apply to Startup Chile. If you are selected, you are gonna, well, you will have the working visa for a year, so you could be studying Chile for a year working here. We will help you to get your ID card, open a bank account. We will connect you with mentors, with investors, with the market. We will provide you a co-working space so you can have an office for free. We have benefits so you can grow your startups thanks to the alliances we have with different companies. So, and all the perks that we have. So of course, my advice will be to apply to Startup Chile and be part of the community and connect with the ecosystem in Chile.
Sounds good. Tadashi, I imagine that you are going to agree with that. What happened with those startups that, for example, cannot be part of a Startup Chile for any reason because they couldn't be part of the group or anything, and they need still they would like to go to Chile? What is your best advice for them?
Apply again. No, just kidding. I will. Everyone has talked about the how, but I think it's a very important why. And my advice is, if you're coming to Latin America, if you're thinking about Latin America, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, whatever, Chile is a place to start. And it's not something that I say lightly, because it's a place to start because it's one of the countries with the best support. It's one of the countries where you will find the easiest way to find seed capital is to come to Chile, but also it's a place that is one of the most connected in Latin America. And it's a place that if you have a technology startup, you will find a lot of support in technical skills, people doing the same, markets being prepared to receive a solution that is more sophisticated. It's a good place to set the first step. I don't know if people know this, but Chile is one of the countries that has the most agreements with the rest of the world, because the stability of the economy in Chile makes them a very good players internationally. So if you want to go to Colombia, great, there are great players. If you want to go to Brazil, great, it's a great country, very big, 220 million population against the 17 million people in Chile. But this is a place to start. This is a place to start your company. In Chile, you can set your company in one day on internet. It's that fast. That's how adapt Chile is right now for business. So I will say, yeah, of course, go to Startup Chile. If you don't worry, come to the incubators, accelerators. Someone is going to receive you. But the most important part, set a strategy that starts with Chile and help you move, and will help you move to the rest faster.
That's awesome, Tadashi. And it's important to understand also that Chile may not have a big population, but it's part of the Pacific Island countries, which in compare with Brazil, it's the same population actually. It's more than 200 million people, and also has the same GDP in combined. So you can start in Chile, and you can probably scale faster in the other three countries that are part of the Pacific Island countries. Also, all of them have FTAs with Canada and US, and they have very, very low barriers to enter to the the general ecosystem. So we start with the questions right now. For those that just started late to hear to watch the webinar, just send us the question to contact@latamstartups.biz or to the hashtag #LatamStartups. For this webinar, we're going to take just 3 questions because we don't have much time right now, probably 2. And we are going to start with this question from an anonymous person who doesn't want to be named right now. He's an investor, and he would like to know what kind of startups he can find in Chile, and if the ICT sector is the most important sector at this point. Who wants to start with the answer?
As
David? Marcus.
Okay,
uh,
Marcus.
as as I'm not focusing on the IT, I'm saying yes. Of course, you know there was a big wave in the beginning which was focusing on the IT side, on applications, etc., which is pretty natural because it's also the area where you probably can get the fastest returns. Um, uh, and also the necessary infrastructure is reduced. However, today I would say you find more and more also science-based startups. Fundación Chile has a very good track record, of course, but also other institutions are working on it to increase science-based startups. Universities are involved. COFO is working with the universities to establish a hub. So there's more and more technology-based, science and technology-based in sustainability, solar technology, agriculture, winery, etc., but also in biotechnology. There's an increasing wave of science-based startups, and the infrastructure related is still in the beginning, but it's growing pretty fast.
Okay, David, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I'm an investor too. I invest in IT companies, early stage IT companies, and then I make a follow-on on 20% of the next round, reaching a maximum of $1 million investment. And I will say to you, there's a lot of startups here. I have a huge pipeline. I would like to invest in 3 times I'm investing right now, but I just need more VCs around me so we can co-invest in companies. There's a lot of opportunities that I'm losing, that I can do it faster. There's a lot of opportunities that comes through my eyes that I can't see, because there's a lot of startups and there's a lot of VCs. So I have a lot of work, and I invite you to come to Chile and work with me. So there's one thing that I would like to say about Corfo. They have a new grant for, it's not a grant, it's like the Corfo is co-investing with you in startups. They if you put $1 million, they give you 3 more, so you can invest 4 in companies, and that's a huge opportunity for investors. So you have 4 to invest, and I promise you that you won't feel like you don't have opportunities. You will have a lot of opportunities. You have started Chile, and you have 11 incubators here in Chile working with early stage companies to grow.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David. If somebody wants to answer the angel investor here, just let me know. If not, we can move to the next question. And Angeles, you have a fan here in Toronto, an extra fan. So he's actually asking, when are you coming to Toronto, and if you have any possibilities to show the startup program here in Canada, and how they can connect with you.
Well, so we can, if you give me her or his email, we can connect with them. And since we support entrepreneurs from all over the globe, I can connect this entrepreneur with someone in Toronto. We do meetups and info sessions about Startup Chile all over the year, and we have good entrepreneurs that have been through the program and that are living in Toronto, or in Canada in general. So I can connect you with them, and then you can know about Startup Chile from the first source. People that have experienced or have lived the experience of Startup Chile. And of course, they can reach out through our social network, or our email is contact@startupchile.org, and we can arrange something so he can participate in these meetups or info sessions that we organize once in a while.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So
Okay.
we are right now, finishing the webinar. We know that we have a couple of more questions, but we can add those questions to the emails. We can respond those questions. We're going to forward those to our guests right now. And thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, to any other question that you have, go to contact@latamstartups.biz or the hashtag LatamStartups, and we're happy to answer your question. Now, Chile is in the spotlight this month, so we are putting a world view about the startup ecosystem in Chile. So you're going to see this webinar, you're going to see some other activities that we have around Chile, showing the startup ecosystem, this amazing startup ecosystem. Also reminding you that this October we have our Latam Startups Conference in Mexico. So this is the third edition, and we are still missing from Chile, so we have to figure out that part. But we have already people from Brazil and from Colombia and from Peru and from the other countries join us that day in October 12th to 14th. So any questions about the conference, also you can contact us. Thank you so much to our guests, and please keep connected, and thank you for all the answers. Bye now.